homeless people have existed for as long as we can remember. And to not plan for them is sort of our fault.
The people that are the most vulnerable, if we're not helping them or offering them a way out or trying to bridge that gap, what does that say about us?
Inside the tunnel network, there were a large number of reports of witnessing human behaviors that potentially contaminate the water.
The way Southern Nevada is set up, a lot of unsheltered homelessness is congregated in these flood control channels.
There's no place to go at the end of the day, and some people have decided that's, their permanent residence is basically in one of the Las Vegas storm sewers.
I think it's really sad that people have been put in a situation where they feel like their only option left is to go underground or go into the outskirts, to go into tunnels and washes and camps, because there's no help for them.
A guy that I knew said, hey, why don't you come over here? We went to the tunnel, and I looked at the tunnel, and again, this is how delusional I am at this time, like how long I've been out there. I looked at it, and it seemed like the same feeling I get when I walk to my apartment now. I was like,
maybe trying to reject a society that has also rejected them.
And so the impacts of that, when you don't have proper sanitation, when you don't have access to resources and facilities, human waste is going to wind up in those waters, and then it's going to potentially wind up in Las Vegas Wash.
We're able to find contaminants like illicit drugs or oil-based products from things that are on the roadways coming off our cars. We even find pathogens as well.
During the time that we were sampling for this project, we would see people using that as a drinking water source, or bathing in it, brushing their teeth, or even if they have animals, the animals would be going into that water.
There's a lot of risk to having people in close contact with no clean water and no access to sanitation. So the real risk is spreading within the people that are living in the drain tunnels and things like that.
Because there's no disinfection and because there's so much contamination upstream, 80% of the E. coli that we detect out in Las Vegas Wash is coming from this low flow of water.
So if these individuals are using our water, walking through the water, bathing with the water, washing their belongings with the water, and if that water has the slightest risk to their public health, I believe this should be considered a health crisis.
Yeah, the correlation between homeless people and the water quality is more of a statement of just the conditions that people are put under,
There's a lot of people that look at the homeless population and they're just, they're disgusted. And people don't want to see it, they don't want to acknowledge it, and yet they don't want to do anything to solve it.
People think of homeless a certain way. They have this picture of somebody living on the streets, and they don't really see the true picture of what homelessness is.
That is not ever the outcome you see for yourself. You don't grow up as a child and say, I want to be homeless and rejected by the rest of society. I want to struggle to live every day and to barely be able to survive. Nobody grows up saying that.
There are many, many distinct forms and distinct causes of homelessness.
It's really about housing security, and we have people who just are right on the edge of losing their homes because of the economy, not through any fault of their own, but if they had a job before COVID and their business shut down, now it's difficult to feed your family.
Your mom, your sister, your cousin, your brother, your friend, your high school classmate, whatever, could easily fall into that, because I'm somebody's brother, I'm somebody's uncle, father, classmate, all those things, right? And I ended up homeless, and I'm not special. It's a line, right? And once you cross that line, it's almost impossible to get back above it.
I think a lot of society kind of gives them the answer of, well, you just need to get a job. If somebody walks up to an interview with their shopping cart full of belongings and they haven't had an access to showers for days or weeks, and they're wearing clothing that's filthy because they've been sleeping on the ground, what employer is going to hire that person? There is no fair shot there.
If you're watching the snow, right? It all looks the same. Every snowflake looks the same from my kitchen window. If I put them all under a microscope, they're all different, completely different. You know what I mean? That's what homelessness is, right? There's some general issues that they all suffer from, but each person's story is unique and different.
We spoke to many people who explained how domestic violence was the result of their homelessness.
When women are fleeing domestic violence and they're talking about issues of trauma, they're still met with questions of like, oh, well, why did you stay? From a woman's perspective, that's not something that's going to make you want to reach out and ask for help.
We spoke to many people who had suffered from unexpected health issues like strokes and heart attacks. Close to 80% of respondents told us that they're actively seeking to find housing, but they just need a little bit of help.
I told them I wanted to go to sober living, I wanted to go to treatment. I was trying to reach out for help, and I'm getting met with responses of people asking me like, can you make a $3,500 down payment on your bed and detox? Well, like, no, I can't, I'm homeless.
The whole problem isn't that there's one particular aspect that's spreading disease. It's that we have a group of people who are at the bottom of the list for everything that we need to do. They're not getting health care, they're not getting clean water, they're not having access to sewage. We put them last. And as a result, there are a lot of different problems that they face. This is just one of them.
We've done a poor job as a city. We have for a few years, and that's just the years that I've been involved. I'm sure like there's a whole history of poor decisions made mainly for the sake of business.
I know there's people trying to help that come from different perspectives. So I know that Housing First is a huge initiative and kind of has also recently partnered with harm reduction. And it's just where if we can get people off the streets and we can put them into housing, that then they will basically have their most basic need met, like just the basic physiological, I have, a safe place to sleep, like shelter, a safe place to come back to shower, to be able to eat. Then they can start to address issues like mental health or substance abuse or dealing with trauma.
So why not take kind of the public health approach, go upstream and actually put money into mental health services, put money into low-income housing so that we can keep people from being on the streets. There are ways that we can approach it, but we have to decide that's something we want to prioritize and put the money toward it. It's just very difficult to do that because the homeless are powerless and they really can't go out and advocate for themselves that same way.
I believe that it's possible to mitigate some of these risks through city policies and improved resources to our unhoused and unsheltered population.
I don't always hand out money. You know what I mean? Somebody with lived experience, right? Like, I have a nice life right now. I don't always hand out money. But every time I see somebody on the streets that I even believe is homeless, I make eye contact. Hey, how you doing? Right? If I can, I give them a cigarette. Like, it's like that way of letting them know they're seen, they're heard, I see you. You know what I mean? Like, without really saying all that, right? Like, just, hi, how are you? Hold the door open for them, shake their hand.
I think it's necessary to recognize that we're all human beings. We all deserve to live with dignity and to be treated with respect. People fall on hard times in life, and whether or not it's their fault, rather than looking at who to blame or how to push the responsibility away from ourselves, I think it's important to start asking, what can we do to help?